2.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Clay Class. I'm Phil Lyons, coming to you live from Dongzhu Pottery in the Madison, Wisconsin area. My former student, Leja Dongzhu, set up a couple of great studios in Madison. I'm at Dongzhu West. This YouTube channel, Clay Class, is going to have a variety of demonstrations, everything to do with clay, pottery, hand building. We're going to talk about glazes, kilns. We're going to go on some field trips to some friends of mine, some talented ceramic artists, and we're going to interview them as well. So subscribe below and check back for more interesting stuff all about clay. Today I'm going to talk about preparing clay, wedging and kneading clay. This is a technique that I learned from a guy named Dean Schwarz. Dean Schwarz taught at Luther College in Iowa back in the 70s and 80s. He also taught my high school teacher, a guy named Don Hunt, amazing guy, amazing artist and teacher. But Dean studied with Marguerite Wildenhain. Marguerite was a Bauhaus potter in Germany. She got out of Germany just prior to World War II and eventually ended up in California, where she started a school called Pond Farm. Dean's school in Iowa was called South Bear, outside of Decorah, Iowa, actually originally in Highlandville, Iowa. And so I spent a summer there, 8 weeks, making pots with Dean and learning the Bauhaus way. So, preparing clay. Now, most people talk about wedging as just working the clay like ram's head or spiral wedging. We call that kneading. Wedging is actually the process of mixing the clay. So if you recycle clay like we do here at Dongzhu, you're going to need to mix the clay thoroughly so that it's homogeneous, so the moisture level is consistent throughout the clay. And this mixing technique is our wedging technique. And the way we do it is we cut the clay with our thumbs, we tear off the front half, slam it down on the clay, we roll it back, give it a 90-degree turn, and do the same thing again. It takes some strong thumbs, but it really works way better than using a wire tool. Or they'll have a studio set up where they have a wire coming down from a pole or a stick that they can cut the clay efficiently. But this is the way I learned, and it works really well, especially if you're working with clay that's really, kind of chunky, and you gotta work it up, because driving your thumbs through the clay sort of blends the clay as well in the process. And this takes advantage of the idea of exponential growth. So if I divide this in half, it becomes 2 pieces. And then I do it again, it becomes 4, and then 8, and then 16, 32. And if I end up doing it just 10 times, it's divided into over 1,000 pieces. If I do it 15 times, it's divided into over 32,000 pieces. And if I get up to 22 times, just 22 times, it divides the clay into over 4 million pieces. So the power of exponential growth, pretty cool. So that's our wedging technique. Then kneading there are basically 2 ways to knead clay. Probably more, but I use the ram's head technique, and most of my students find this the easiest way to do it. And so the way you do that is you put your hands on the side, thumbs up, you get braced so you have 1 foot back, drive into the clay with your the heels of your hands, you rock it back, you sneak your fingers forward a little bit, And you do that over and over again. So I'm kind of pushing the clay and it's spinning back in on itself, and this is going to get any of the air bubbles out, and it's going to compress the clay and align the particles, and it's going to really wake up the clay. Clay sort of has a memory, and when you first get it out of a bag or whatever, it's kind of stiff, and you got to sort of, it's like stretching before you do exercise. You just got to loosen it up a little bit. So this is the ram's head technique, what they call the ram's head technique, because it sort of looks like a ram's horn on the side, and maybe a ram's face or a monkey's face or a chameleon or something like that. So that's the ram's head technique. And if I'm doing something that I really care about, I usually do this maybe 100 times at least. And that only takes a minute, because if you're doing 2 a second, you can give it 100 spins in less than a minute. When I'm done kneading, I'm going to roll the clay back in on itself, and I'm going to do a little backspin technique that Dean taught us. Cross your thumbs, hands like this, give it a little push and a little backspin. And this is going to roll the clay out into a nice log. Some people do just tamping like this, and that's good too, but I like it round. And so I do the backspin technique, and then I have a nice log of clay ready to go to the wheel.